began photography in the 60s, primarily in parallel with my activism of the 60s. I picked up a camera, I loved it immediately, and I photographed everything I could. I went to Rhode Island School of Design for an MFA back in the early 70s, and I studied with Harry Callahan, Aaron Siskind, Lizette Modell, and Mina White. I was more concerned about the ideas and the feelings I wanted to express than just documenting an event. And so I had this push and pull between traditional photography and abstract expressionism that I've been working with my entire life, trying to understand the differences between painting and photography, expressionism versus documenting. Since that period, I've been working through these issues of making something versus taking something. And of course, being at RISD, Aaron Siskind, an abstract photographer, had a very big effect on how I looked at things. He too was a street photographer. He was also an English teacher, and he photographed on the street and then befriended painters in the abstract world, Franz Klein, Jasper Johns, and the like. And his photography totally changed what existed at the time, and at RISD affected me greatly. My interest in photography shifted quickly to abstract expressionism as applied to the realness that one finds only in photography. Graffiti was really interesting to me. I had been photographing graffiti for a few years, but not in earnest. And then after meeting Aaron, I started to see the shapes and the forms separate from the content. One thing Aaron taught me was that there is so much more to photography than the content that we see. Graffiti has layers, and I see in layers. I don't see conventional perspective because I have a condition called biocular diplopia, which in simple terms is double vision. My eyes don't fuse together. So I learned to see perspective through an image. 3 dimensions for me was seeing the front of an image and the back of an image, and how they converge as layers. Looking back, I can see the strong impact this had on my current work, which is in Photoshop, looking at layers, because the layering process in Photoshop is pretty much exactly the way painters spray on top of each other on the decayed walls in New York City. And I changed the color. As you can see, it's building up the stack, radically changing what the original image looks like. And then I add one more image, which further refines the color, a few more adjustments, and this is the final image. So the final image from the original image. The main groups of pictures in my traditional pictures have been graffiti and also the southern canyons of the Southwest. I used to live in the canyons and photograph the slots and the narrows throughout Utah, New Mexico, and the like. I love the canyons. The canyons are my connection to the ground. You'd hike in the mountains and there's trees and dirt, but when you're in the canyons, you feel the connection to the core. My first composites were pictures of decayed walls combined with the canyon pictures that I made of the various rocks that I saw. This thread of stitching together different portfolios is quite important to me. Looking at the composites has given me a good perspective of the work that I've done over my photographic career. It's introduced me to ideas that I missed. Photography to me is an odd collection of ideas and aestheticism. I never really have a beginning or an end of a project. I like to be in the middle. The most important composites I've done today are looking at trees combined with light in unique ways, and looking at portraits combined with the decay of the social icons in our society. And all this comes from a collection of different ideas threaded together over 40 to 50 years. Good pictures talk to each other, but you also have to have ideas, and the ideas interact with each other in ways that create new ideas. There's a wonderful phrase by one of my favorite photographers, Gary Winogrand, who said, which pretty much encapsulates how I feel about photography and probably most other people, and that is that I photograph to see what a photograph looks like. And what he's saying is that I love what I see, but I also love what I see in a frame. Coming up with new things is a very important part of the process. It keeps me active and interested, and interest is a key in photography. You have to really love photography, because there's such a low hit rate in making a picture, and to survive that, you have to just love it.